Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be our third video in our Charger taxi build for my sister. While I was off camera, I did a few things to get this ready so the video won't be super long. I don't think any of you really want to watch me do too much sanding on these. So I got all the parts prepped for the next step we're going to do. Mainly we're focusing on the interior, and then we're going to do some work with the chassis. So let me cover what we're going to do with the interior first. We're going to shoot it in black super primer, and then we're going to hit it with the honey matte, just like we did on the engine. So that'll give us a nice sheen for the interior. And then this little piece here, the gear shift selector cover, and the inside of the dash here need to be painted a kind of a gray color. So we'll come back to that a little bit later. So for now, we're just going to shoot a bunch of super primer. Let's see. Oh, actually, let me talk about this real quick. I almost forgot. So because I'm doing this car is the civilian version, you have to put the center console together. And so that's this piece here. And then you have to glue this piece on. It's the little, I don't know if you can see that or not. It's got the little switches and stuff. That glues right on the back of that. And then you got to glue the armrest on, and the armrest glues on. Yeah, let me see if I can get that. Where the little handle hold goes in the front, and then the back's perfectly smooth. You can see that there. And then the gear shift knob goes on, and it goes on. Actually, you can see that where the long piece runs in the back. So that shifter comes almost straight down, and then it's got the shift boot, and the shift boot kind of covers it. So it kind of looks like that. So run that toward the back. And then that's it. That's all you need to do. And then when that's done, then the cover goes on and sits down in there. So that's all that is. And then because we're doing it with the shifter on the column, or on the console, not the console. Yeah, the console's fine. Anyway, because we're doing it down in the center, you don't have to glue the one on the steering wheel. So that's that. So let's get this going here. Gotta shake this stuff up. Let me turn the fan on. Okay. So it's beginning of June now, 2025, and my wife and I were just in Vegas for the Best of the West show, and while we were there, they didn't have any more of those Coke taxis. Those are all gone. I did not see one of them. As a matter of fact, there wasn't very many taxis that were there that actually had all the wrap on them, so that was kind of weird. But anyway, that's what was going on up there. I noticed that. I thought it was kind of weird. Okay, I'm just going to do this way. And speaking of Best of the West, if you ever get the chance to go, it's in Las Vegas, and it is so much fun. It is just such a great show. Those guys that put it on are just the best. They put on a heck of a show. Okay. Okay. So I know not much to this, but at least we're not trying to paint black parts black. Got good white plastic going on here, and we could turn that into black plastic parts. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so this is the firewall, and I'm painting it black because when I looked them up online, it looks like, first of all that stuff's it's a cover, so that's all black. And then it looked like they had like a heat insulation pad on here that looked dark. I found one that was actually the white engine bay, and I couldn't see the firewall in it. So that's how I'm doing mine. We'll probably come back to that later. Oh, I gotta do some touch up here. Okay, that's better. And don't ever be afraid to come back and go over stuff if you're not happy with the way it looks the first go around. I mean, you're not going to mess the paint up. It'll be fine. And like always, I'm using my 0.5 tip with the 25 psi air. That's my favorite combination of air pressure and tip size, so. Yeah, I'm gonna change that. Okay, so while we were down there in Vegas, actually, to come back to that, we got the chance to get some real up-close views of what the taxis down there look like, the Charger taxis, and they're just regular Chargers. Most of them, the guys have like extra GPS units and stuff with them, but other than that, they're all just stock. And then they have those cool little backseat fare computer things that hang off the back of the driver's seats. They just hang down right there, and they're like, I don't know, they look like just the regular key card scanners. They got the little display and then the little keys, and you stick your credit card in it. So they're nothing really super fancy there. Or, I mean, they're fancy, they're cool, but nothing real bulky or anything like that. So I guess like everything else, that technology's come a long ways. Okay. So I think you've seen me do enough of that. So these are the underside shields that go under here. They're going to be black also. Pedals, of course, steering wheel, of course, the 4 door handles, and the driver's seats. Those are all going to be black. One thing I did want to say about these is when they glue together, the pieces match up really nicely in the model. They actually don't in real life. That piece from, I don't know if you can see it or not, from that where it rolls out under, the whole entire back panel is plastic on the real cars. And they come down, and there's a very, very visible line where it clips on the back, and the interior, and the material for the seat rolls underneath it. So if you wanted to, you could probably come in and rescribe that line, or before you glue it on, you could sand down the back to roll in a little bit more or something. I don't know. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to finish priming these, and then we'll come back and we'll shoot some gray primer on some of this stuff, and I'll explain what we're going to do with the chassis, and then we'll move ahead with everything else. All right, so we got all our paint work done. Everything looks fantastic, so we just have a couple of detail things to take care of. First thing is I looked at the police car models online, the real cars, not the models, the real cars, and it looks like they are just black on all their interior parts. They don't do the charcoal gray. So I just took this is a Prismacolor metallic silver. Part on that's PC 949 if you're interested. And I just ran it along the outside edge of the dash to give that little silver outline. So that's that. Did a little bit around here. It's really subtle, and kind of the ones on the cars were too. But that's a really good way of doing silver detail parts if you want to just detail them or just colored pencils. So that puts us with doing the chrome. So the base of these, the base of the armrest, they have a little chrome trim that runs right along the bottom of that. And then the door handles are chrome. So we're gonna paint that right now. I'll show you a trick with these. That's my good 2mm one. So I love these Maltal pins, but I can never get the 1mm to ever last very long. Okay, that came out. If you press these down and hold them for a second, all the ink will start to well up in here. And when it does, you can stick a paintbrush in there and get you a little bit of chrome paint on the paintbrush. And then you can just brush this. I forgot to put my glasses on. Looking at that part going, I don't know where that chrome's gonna go. And actually, if you want a tip that's model related but kind of personal related, glasses, if you're having trouble seeing the parts and stuff doesn't look right, you might want to go talk to your eye doctor, get your optometrist involved, because that was the problem I was having. It just, you know, got of the age where I was having trouble seeing what I was doing with the models. Went to the doctor and they were like, oh yeah, you need glasses. And I was like, okay, cool, you know, whatever kind of thing. And then came home and went, oh crap, yeah, no, I can see all the parts on the models now. Okay, so there's that. So while I'm doing this, not to bore you completely to death, I'll tell another little funny story about my sister. So when she got out of high school, she took a job at McDonald's, and she went through all her training. And like I had said before, she was really smart. She was a good student, so she like if you taught her how to do something, like she would do it, and then she would do it like exactly the way you showed her to do it. So one day their corporate guys roll in and they're doing kind of a, not exactly a secret, I mean everybody knew they were corporate, so it wasn't exactly like they were secretly judging what the meals that they were buying were like, but they went in and they were judging the meals. And one of the guys was like, holy crap, who made this biscuit? And everybody was like, it was her. And he went back there and he was like, I opened the box and this biscuit looks exactly, and I mean exactly like it looks on the picture. How the hell did you do that? My sister was like, look man, that's how you trained me to do them. I just did what you showed me. And they were like, oh my God, you know how many people we show and they don't get this? So she ended up getting like a 25-cent raise. And I'm talking, that was like in the late 80s. It was like 87, 88, somewhere in there. So yeah, it was pretty cool. She also followed around the Coca-Cola guy. So if you want to tie in with the Coke car, she followed the Coca-Cola guy around while he was recalibrating their Coke machines. And she was asking him questions, you know, what does this do? What does that do? Why are you turning those knobs? What's this? And he explained it to her that, you know, the Coke syrup has to have a percentage of Coke to a, you know, it's all a ratio, percentage of Coke to percentage of the carbonated water. And when they're done right, the carbonation works with the flavoring in the Coke to make it taste better. And she went, okay, how do I do that? How do I check that? And he ran it through with her, and then for like a long time, the Coke guy wasn't showing up at the restaurant. And when they finally did come out, they were like, holy crap, who's doing your Coke machine? This thing is this is the nicest Coke machine we've seen at any of the locations we've been to. And everybody was like, she did it. So they were super happy. They actually were like, oh wow, you know, that's so cool you did that for us. But yeah, so she was a really good employee. She really tried. She did good at everything she did. She didn't halfway it. I mean, she worked at Walmart when she started to get sick, and she had to quit that job. And they didn't want her to leave. They were like, we'll give you part-time, we'll work with you, we don't want you to go, we like you being here. So that's cool. I mean, if you can get Walmart to give a crap, you know you're doing something fantastic. Okay. Okay, there's that. Those door panels look fantastic, huh? Look at that. Now I got to put these in. And these are easy enough because the long ones go in the front and the short ones go in the back. And they're sighted, so that's all there is to it. And as promised, I got some Gorilla Glue. Oh, I don't want to use that one. I'll just use a new one. Okie dokie. Let me see. That's actually messed up. Let me just grab another one here. All right. So I have to say I'm very, very, very impressed with how well these kits go together, and the level of detail is just beyond belief. Okay, there's the door panels. Those are done. Okay, there's that one. And there's that one. Okay, and I mean, they're just that easy. And then this is going to be decals. That needs to have flocking put on it, which is what I'm going to do right now. I'm not going to show the decals because they're just decals. I mean, we're going to run into that later on in this series, so I'm not going to show you that, but I'll get them done. I will do the flocking here in a minute. Let me get that set up, and we'll be on that in just a second. Okay, so basically you're flocking everything. Now this is how we do it with our flocking. Just slime-free glue here. Just take this, just put it on. Put a good thick coating on there. This is clear, so you don't need to worry about it gumming up anything. Oh, I'm running really low. That's fine. There's plenty in here. I was thinking of masking off the floor here and putting floor mats in, and I had a whole bunch of ideas going, but just keep it simple, I think. Ooh, yeah, I think I'm really running out of this. I probably should grab another bottle. There we go. Okay. Now we got her. I mean, you're not trying to glob this stuff on by any stretch, but you want to get a good thick coat on there. Okay. Just, if you work quickly, you'll be able to get it set up here. So I gotta say, every time I get online to research parts on these cars, I'm just blown away by how authentic they are. I know somebody was pointing out on one of the websites I visited that some of the police equipment they have in the model isn't correct for exactly how LAPD would have ran a 21 Charger, but I mean, for anything else you're doing with them, they are beautiful. Okay, so there's that. And then just take our black flocking, shake it up, just crack it open and start dumping it out. Get it on there, get it really packed on there. Like at this point, you almost cannot put too much on there. And then just press it in with your finger. That's how I always do it. Okay. Knock it off a little bit. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful. And if you want, you can take the airbrush a little, hold it back, and kind of blow some of the loose stuff off. Yeah, there you go. Okay, look at that. Beautiful, huh? And I mean, you saw me do that in real time, so not a whole lot of work there. And then what I like to do is, and the reason I love these bottles, in addition to the shaker top that makes it that easy to put the flocking on, you can just take the piece of paper here, just bump it a bit, and quick blow off, done and done. All right, that's the entire flocking process right there. It is literally that easy. And so that brings us back to finishing off the interior here. So I know from playing with it already, that the back seat goes in, so I'm only going to put glue in these slots. And a little bit right along the back. And that should be more than enough to hold those seats in. Okay, back seats are in. Gonna do the same thing on the slot for the front seat, I think. Okay. Actually, probably should have done the center console before I did the seats, but yep. I know. I don't know if anybody saw that thing actually fall off of there originally, but yeah, that seat popped right out when I bumped into it. Gorilla Glue is amazing, but it does take a second to cure, so you gotta give it a little bit of it's a little bit of a process. Now I really get the feeling that if you wanted to, you could come in here with these and you could just really, really super detail out these interiors. I know the door on the door panels, they have that B-pillar cover, and that works all the way up and over. Still got flocking all over everything. I need to. Yeah, okay, that's. That one's wants glue over a lot more area, so we'll do that for it. Ah, so nice to be able to knock that out drop by drop. But yeah, I mean, you can see where they, you know, they've got like everything on these. These are really impressive. Yeah, wow, okay. So there's that. Okay. Now, one thing you could do if you wanted to, since you're building, well, because I'm building a taxi, and I don't know how many police departments would allow you to run them, but you could take that driver's seat and you could use the flocking and make it look like a sheepskin seat cover. Okay. Actually, I'm not sure how much you need to glue, how important gluing those in is. I think they'll just stay in there on their own anyway, so it's fine. So there's that. Let me do the decals here, and we'll get that dash done, and then the interior will be finished up, huh? See how fast this is going? I mean, I spent, I don't know, probably about half hour or so doing the paint work on this. So I know you didn't see a lot of that. Actually, I guess you did see a lot of that. But yeah, I put about another half hour into it, so you can see how fast this thing's going together. I mean, otherwise you've been watching me do it kind of in real time. Yeah, then that doesn't touch those. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right, we got her. Let's, I'm going to take a break here, and I'll get all the decals done for the dash, and then we'll come back, we'll get the dash glued in, and we'll be done with the interior. All right. I wished I would have shown that now. These are amazing. Oh my God. Those decals are just stunning. So seriously, whoever did these decals and got this set up at AMT, honest to God, I'm not trying to make a joke. I don't want this to sound like I'm being a jerk. If I see you at a model show, let me know you did these, and I will shake your hand, give you some free paint, take you to lunch, whatever. Thank you. Thank you for finally doing decals the way they should be. Check this out. So everything on the dash, they gave you 2 decals to it. So that's the center panel, that's all your vents, which is genius right there alone, because they all have that little chrome trim around them, and that made them easy to see. They give you, on the Hemi for the engine, they give you 3 of those, so if you mess one up, you still got one instead of just 2. Same thing with all of this stuff. They give you 2 each. They give you 2 of all that. Then they give you the different color Dodges for however you're doing the car. This is genius. Oh my God, this is just, yes, finally, thank you. Thank you, AMT. But anyway, so we got the dash all done, and that means it's time to glue. Okay. Like always, that just slides right into the little, slides right in there. Oh, come on. Oh, huh. This is just too much. That thing's already slid in. That's trying to force it in. It's already in, and I'm the one causing the problem here. Holy cow. Okay, so that is one super clean, super good looking interior. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could do different finishes for the fabrics on the seats and stuff like that. You detail this out a little more. I mean, if you get online and look up 21 Charger interiors, they have like dash pads, they have, you know, seat covers. I mean, you name it, they have everything in real life. So you could do the same thing with the kits. I mean, just let reality be your guide on these model cars. So that's the interior. Now I have one more thing to do before we call this quits, and that is I have to paint this. So I have to primer this gray and then paint it white. And for that, we're just going to use an old bottle of this Ford GT Racing White. And I'm doing that for a reason. Let me explain that. I actually wanted to get into this before I started that. So I'm going to paint everything. I'm going to paint all of the chassis the white color. I'm just going to do it in base coat. I'm not going to clear coat it. So all of the fenders, all the bottom of the chassis, all of this is going to be white. Then I'm going to come back in and kind of liquid mask off around the edges here, and then respray that in flat black under the fender wells. That's all the chassis prep I'm going to do on it. Then everything else we're going to do, and I'm going to show all that in the next video. So so that's what I'm going to do. Between now and then, I'm going to paint the bottom of this. I'm going to paint the chassis white. And then on the next video, we'll come in and we'll finish the chassis up, and then we can start working on the body with those super cool Coke decals. So thanks for watching, and like always, everything we used, the tweezers, the sanding sticks, the glue, all the paint, of course, it's all available on our website, so you can find it there if you're looking for anything that we used, and use code YouTube10 and you'll get 10% off everything we sell on the website. And I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.